Okay. So just trying to do a mic check here. If I go on, if you can hear me, it's going to be a little bit of lag, but okay. So just trying to do a mic check here. If I go on, um, if you can hear me, it's going to be a little bit of lag, but okay. I'm just trying to do a mic check here. So if you can hear me, you can just post something in the chat. Before. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Kevin Igwe. So let me share my screen very quickly. Okay. Just about to share my screen. Yeah. All right. So you should be able to see my screen now. Um, can you see my screen? Can anybody see my screen? If you can see my screen, can just post in the comments and we can start. All right. So welcome to class. Um, I'm sure Miss Nikki has spoken to you guys already. So I'm just going to go into the program. So first off is what's the program for? The program is for or this the essence of this entire conversation is to help people who are asking themselves, should this be in design, or is design meant to be what they are supposed to do, or they have questions like, are you they have questions around um is design one of the best pathways to getting into IT and making the IT money, or you're just passionate about design, right? So to summarize, the general idea is like user experience design is very, very important. And that's like the crux of everything. So when we now even talk about like UI and UX, we are actually looking at everything around building um experiences with human. So when you think about anything that has to do with building experiences with human, right? It goes into a lot because like it's very deep because you can look at it from the angle of a customer care service, a doctor to a patient, um people using their mobile devices, transportation system. It cuts across different kind of boundaries, right? So, however, the pathway we have is streamlined basically to how do we build digital experiences? How do we build data experiences that enable users um to do things faster, to make things easier, and ultimately to get satisfaction from it. And that is why we have user interface and user experience design. Okay. But mind you, the overall is all about user experience. And when you now break down user experience, that's where you get user interface and so on and so forth. I've moved a bit away from the topic. So let me just come down into like the content here. So in the content, we have design isn't just about how it looks, it's about how it works. And you can see this in iOS devices, that is iPhone, Android, laptop devices, even as basic as your doors, like when you open the door, you close it, and how the door again stands as something that is meant to like beautify the home, right? That is when we say we have real design. It should not just be a form of beauty, but it should also be functional as well. And a lot of people have always um argued around which one is more important. Is it function or form? So form, yeah, I'm talking about like the aesthetics, because when we talk about aesthetics, we are talking about not it being perfect, but it being beautiful in the eyes of the beholder, right? So because beauty again is relative. Some people like something, some people will not like those same things, right? So because of that, that's why we always not say like, oh, this is perfect across board. No, we say it is it is good enough for the user, right? Because something that is perfect for you may not be something that is perfect for me. Okay. So, however, despite the fact that we have all of these restrictions that is already like guiding us or choking us, how then do we now make it such that we create something that is beautiful? So we've already underlined something here, and that is where we get the foundations of user experience design. Meaning that first thing is we need to know the user. The second thing is we need to know exactly what their taste, feel, and wants and dislikes are. And then that will now lead us into designing beautiful products for them, right? And so let's explore more into the foundation. We're going to look at what is user interface. User interface, when you think about it, is actually aspect of elements you see, you feel, you touch. But user experience is more about the the feeling you get, the non um tangible items that surround a user interface, right? So meaning that when you think about um when you think about it holistically, right, you can easily see that your mobile device, let's say you are filling a form, right? A form on how to do something. You're just for filling it and everything. You are seeing every pictures and all the text, the buttons, you are clicking it, you are seeing the colors and all. And then think about it, like you keep filling the form and then it feels like the form is not getting done. Now you are getting frustrated. That is where we begin to see user experience, right? Or let's say while you are filling the form, it's just giving you like you have like there's a box where it's asking you to put your phone number. However, it didn't tell you that okay, what we need is a local line. And then you're struggling with that phone number. You're trying to fill in the phone number, but you're struggling with filling the phone number and you're asking yourself, what exactly is going on? Right? That is where you get to have the feeling of that feeling, whether it is frustration, happiness, whatever kind of feeling you get at that point, right? That is the bottom line of user experience. So when we talk about design, or when we talk about designing for optimal experience, we are literally talking about whatever we are going to leave our users with, is that it has to be a feeling that they've achieved something. And in the process of trying to achieve it, right, it should feel intuitive. It should feel like second nature, just like um people living their daily lives, right? As easy as someone who has a hand to lift their hand, and who has the eyes to see, um, have thoughts in their mind to think about, things to say with their mouth. And as fluid as all of those examples are, right? That is how building experiences should feel. And there's a lot that goes into building that. Okay. So now we've understood user interface, we've understood what user experience is, and we understand that user interface is a subset of user experience, right? So now, why is user experience crucial in today's digital world? When you think about it, over the years, we've seen that there's a lot of companies that have beaten out their competitions because they decided to incorporate user experience into their incorporate user experience into their business model, right? Or their business thinking. Think about it. When Microsoft started, and then when Apple came in line, over there we begin to see how Apple is able to beat the laptop market, especially the laptop market, and take it away from um, Microsoft. However, Microsoft was able to redeem themselves in the cloud storage phase. Why? Because the existing cloud storage system was not good. And they said that they should focus on the experience of onboarding users, giving them an interesting or an amazing feeling, right? On how um, they operate their system, right? Thereby making them happy. And even the Figma, the tool that we're going to use, the CEOs, Dylan and his partner, I remember where they would literally go to when they started back in I think 2013, 2014 now. Even I think around 2015, yeah. When they started the company Figma, I remember where they would literally go to people's offices to go and teach them and explain to them how to use the platform, and begin to ask questions around whatever they are struggling with, in order to make sure that they're able to get this optimal experience around using their product. And now you can see the effect. This is 2024, almost 10 years now, right? And you can see that they are now the new standard of building digital interfaces, which they didn't even think was going to even get them to like over 10 million users in the world. So, and why that is one of the reasons why you need to know user experience, or you need to incorporate user experience into your business, right? Number two, I've given two examples, but they have answered all the bullet points that is stated there, meaning that it gives you competitive edge against your overtly crowded market. Another example is in the case of um, um is it content management system? Yeah, I remember Google, when Google decided to create search engine. Initially, there was search engine, and the major search engine player then at the time was Yahoo Search, and this was like far back, I think 2002 or 2003. And no, I think 1998 to 2003, around that range. So what happened? Google saw that the web was scattered, and they could improve the experience by combining all of those information to just one single page, whereby somebody could just browse easily, find whatever the information they're looking for, and get on with their life, right? And that's what made them into a $1 trillion company today. So it's quite interesting to see that How now? And even I remember around 2003, 2004, where Yahoo was literally bidding to buy Google, right? But Google stood, and later now, they even later would later offer Yahoo to be sold to Google. So very funny twist, right? So these are things around user experience that when you learn it can make you very powerful and can make you see that it's going to make you stand out um against your competitors and all. And then when we talk about improved accessibility is that the way coding started, it did not involve full-on accessibility. What do I mean? It meant that people literally had to learn how to work with computers before they are able to solve their needs. However, what user experience teaches us today is that machines have to understand and learn from people so that to best sort out their needs. And that is why today, one of the best products that came out of focusing on user experience is AI, where now AI is learning about human problems, human wants, human needs, and how to solve them. Okay. So now, moving forward, when you talk about user experience design, there are so many career opportunities. I only mentioned a few here just to make this slide look nice, but there are so many career opportunities. And to name a few, you become a visual interface designer, a product designer, an interaction designer, a usability analyst, an information architecture expert, um, a service designer, a UX writer, a content designer, and so on, just from user experience alone. Because when you talk about user experience, there's a lot of things that go into designing user experience, right? And a lot of people have to come together to get user experience done. However, in the um in the course of this program, right, what we are aiming for is to see how you can become a UI UX designer. And the reason we say UI UX is because actually it's not supposed to be UI UX, but because of companies have bastardized the term and they've seen people that okay, UI UX is you are combining somebody who is a visual designer and somebody who is a experienced designer. The thing is, as an experienced designer, you are supposed to have all the knowledge bases. So you should be a visual designer, you should be an experienced designer, you should be a product designer, you should be a usability designer, you should be an interaction designer, and many others, right? However, truth of the matter is no matter how good you are in user experience, you always have one that you like the most and um one that comes naturally to you above all others. Because to even talk about usability, to be a usability analyst alone, it takes years to even master it and figure it out. And what do I mean by this? Because there are even like set of rules and guidelines that's actually involved in becoming a usability analyst. And one of the example of usability analyst, or one of the function of usability analyst, is that when users are reading text on a website, it should be easy to read. And they have like formulas around um around this, and they have like even a range of numbers that we are going to discuss in maybe later classes um to see these kind of problems. Okay. Now, as a product designer, which is what I've practiced like I think over 4 years in design, over 5 years now, that is you take your knowledge of visual interface, you take your knowledge of experience design, and you take your knowledge of business analysis, and you also take your knowledge of product design and product management, and you take all of these abilities and you bring them to one. So bottom line, if you don't get any type of way product designer is or what their role is that they try to understand the needs and wants of the users, and they also try to understand the needs and wants of the business, the needs and wants of the business. Then they now try to see how they can work around or merge the two together. Okay, that is the product designer. Now, a user interface and user experience designer or UI UX now is for me. I used to think that like it's kind of like the bottom level where because what the UI UX designer usually do is that they just focus on designing the visuals of the design. So that means requirements are provided by somebody who is a product manager, and then their only function is to just design whatever instruction that be provided to them. Now that's using Figma. Okay. So now many times UI UX designers do not think on their own. What do I mean by this? Meaning that they don't go through the research. If they are going to even do research, they're probably just going to different design inspiration websites, right? And then they just ask basic questions because they don't have the full on um, picture or the full on understanding of what exactly the user wants, right? Compared to the product designer. Now, that is for the user interface and user experience designer, right? And unfortunately, 99% of the people who claim to be expert in user experience, that is where they fall into. It's only the selected few that function around the product designer, right? And then now, as an interaction designer, what you basically do is you think about the different flows, not just the different flow, the even the what we call the micro interaction. Now, what do I mean by micro interaction? Meaning that the feedback you get when you tap your phone, if you're using when you get notification of phone, sometimes you will see the way the pages will animate or your phone will vibrate. So those sort of animations that happen that go on around your devices or that will go on inside the application you will design, right, is done by an interaction designer. Another term when you open Figma that is used is called prototyping, right? Or prototype inside Figma. But please don't confuse it with being a prototyper or a prototype. A prototype, an actual prototype, is when you have an item that or a product that users can work with, but is not yet fully ready for production. What do I mean by production? Production simply means that is releasing it to releasing it to your users for them to be using in their day-to-day activity. It's just something to test and get idea or understanding of before you move into what's the word now? Before you move into um using it as a real product in your day-to-day activity. Okay. So now I've talked about usability analyst, product designer, user experience designer, interaction designer, and then let me just quickly go into looking at user experience design, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples from my previous works over the years, so you can get a good feel about this, right? So this is more like a bonus because we have come into the general idea of what user experience is, what user interface is, the different rules associated with user experience. And so we are niching down to the user interface and user experience design because like that's like the most basic entry level point, right? To kind of get an idea of what user experience really is because it's a very wide field and it's still being studied. And as we grow day by day, the field keep increasing. And the reason is because human behavior is not static. Human behavior tends to change over a period of time. And because of that, And because of the new research that goes on a daily basis, user experience field is increasing ever so largely, not even slightly, but largely. Now, when we talk about what is a good user experience interface or what is a bad user experience interface, right? We ultimately look at that. We see that there must be a unique interface or they must have a unique layout. They must have a unique layout. They must be clean. They must be easy navigation. There must be buttons that users can understand, which are also known as call to actions that users can interact with. Okay. So for example, now, if you look at this my screen I've been sharing so far, this is my Adobe Acrobat account, right? You can see that I have a button here, AI Assistant. It is clean, it is simple, it is direct and easy to use. I also have the share button, which is not contrasting or fighting with share, right? And that's also what we call visual hierarchies that you can, you always want to like put out the most important thing first against every other thing. However, remember when I said easy navigation, right? If you notice on the left, I have also a light blue item here to show that this is the tool that is presently selected, right? So which helps for what? For easy navigation. Okay. So now let me share my next screen to show you some of my designs. Okay. So now I'm sure you guys should be able to see my screen now. All right. Um, so now let me start with this. Okay. So this is a mobile app I redesigned it recently. So it's an application where it allows you to find people that you share the same passion with on a campus, whether regardless of whatever university you are in, right? So I have a way of like structuring my files. So I have like sandbox slash exploration, style guide. We'll learn about style guide as we go on, and then the final design. Okay. So now if you look at this, my file now like is all over the place. But that's the thing about design. Like we're still trying to like think about the idea and everything, right? It is kind of messy. Okay. So now in this place here now we have what we call the home screen, right? And the home screen now, that's the first thing you see after the logo has finished loading on when you open a new app on a mobile iPhone. Um, so in the next class, we'll probably talk about like the interface of Figma, working with Figma and all of those things. But I just want you guys to focus on the design for now. Okay. So if you look at this, we have this here and we have this. So here now, just a quick breakdown. So we have the picture, a bunch of text, a clear call to action button, and um, another call to action button. Okay. So where they can have choice. So the moment we look at into user experience design, you begin to see the thought process around um all of these items. Okay. So but for now we just want to focus on just the design and not the full-on user experience aspect of it. Because another thing that I used to tell people is that you can have a full user interface without even doing anything related to user experience. So and that is why when you are creating your user interface, you want to always make sure that your creative part of your brain works with your logic part of your brain. User experience is logic part, right? User interface is more of the creative part, making it looking fine and nice and all like that. Okay. So for those of us that are just starting out, when we talk about like touch size, we're also looking at, oh, okay, what's the thumb size of the user, because some people's thumb are very small, while some people's thumb are very big. And that was the thought process around making this button as big as this. But over the years, I've come to find out that the way our devices work, or the way the manufacturer built the devices, right? They already have a rule of thumb that all you just need to follow. It's not about making the button big. It's just about making sure that the touch target, right, within where the button is seated is good enough for the user to interact with. Okay. And that will now lead me to redesigning um, the page recently into this. So notice how now, first thing is, unlike where we have this design here, that's like um too much this, right, which is not even functional for what I want to do, with too much information and bringing this one down, right? Or too much information and bringing this one down. What I did instead now is I made the interface a lot simpler and cleaner, thereby reducing what we call cognitive load. So a quick assignment to you guys is to find out about what is actually cognitive load. Okay, so you can see it again. So let me just take this one out like so, and then bring the exploration here. So you'd agree with me that if you look at this design, right, one looks more busy than the other, and it is because of what this. I'm still using the same information, right? What instead of putting this one here, I'm putting the most important information first, which is what I want them to interact with, as opposed to as opposed to what they are uh what they are saying first, right? That is fancy and stuff. Okay. That is why uh that's how you can easily know, oh, okay, this is a good design against this is a bad um design. Okay. Even moving on to like the other screens, like creating an account, or like how to get started and all, right? And then comparing to what I have here, okay, how to get started and all. Even this interface, now if you look at it, it looks all over the place. It's busy and stuff. As clean as it looks, for me, it still feels all over the place, right? So in order to simplify it now, you can see how now everything doesn't look over the place. Everything look tucked, nicely put. And now you have your most important information that you can easily see and interact with. Okay. So, and I say I have so many examples, even the chat feature, right? Where you have this, right? You can message, you can see the message, and you can even see like how the images look on different things, as opposed to what was there initially. Um, Give me a second. Yeah. So this was what was there initially. The text is big, the colors are not consistent, it's all over the place, right? So these are how you can easily tell, oh, okay, what is bad design? Bad design is too busy, it's cluttered, it's not clean enough, right? And what would that lead to? That will lead to what? Cognitive load, meaning that there's a lot of things going on for the user, and then it's going to make them confused. So if you have any question, you can post a message back in the WhatsApp group, and we'll move from there. So I hope with these few points you've been able to understand what user experience is. That is, it encompasses everything about understanding what user wants and trying our very best to creating experiences that satisfies those wants and needs. Okay. And the wants and needs now could be directly linked to their pain points, which is most of the time, these are things that you'll be hearing most of the time, like, okay, what are your users' pain points and how are you going about solving them? And then what are your thinking process regarding all of these things? Okay. So we've learned about user experience, we've understood what user interfaces are like, is what we see and items we interact with, and the feeling we get thereof from that is what is your user experience. So when I said you can have a user interface without having user experience, what that simply means is that you can do everything right in your user interface, Or if the feeling is wrong, if they don't feel fulfilled for using your interface, right? You've done zero experience. What you just done is graphic design in our own sense. You've not done anything at all. So that is why you have to strive to be first a user experience designer by art and by thinking and thought process, and then a user interface designer. Now, I've seen many people that will ask that, I know I know many principles in user experience, but I don't know how to do great UI. And the truth is, great UI is easy to acquire. Why? Because there are already so many rules and restrictions that guide, or I'll not call them restrictions, I'll call them guidelines that helps you to become a better designer. It's just a matter of sitting down and reading or attending classes, and practicing. Okay, then ultimately finding a very good mentor that will be able to hold your hand and guide you, or ask questions that you can ask questions, and then they'll be able to give you good feedback. Okay, and at the long run, your mentors will be your users, right? Asking them questions, understanding where they're coming from, and even seeing beyond what they are saying, because many times, sometimes users may lie or may obscure the truth, to protect themselves from you knowing the full thing, and that may be a little misleading. And so these are the things you need to figure out. So in the next conversations, you will talk a little bit about some of the guides we are going to be using, right? So that will be around user experience. That will be around user research. What is the process to fulfilling user experience? Uh, while building a product or while solving a problem ultimately. And mind you, many times it's not necessary to build a product. The solution could actually be something that is not even a product, it's more of like more of an advice. So I'll give example. A patient goes to see a doctor, right? So, doctor, I'm feeling backache. I'm having a lot of headache. And then the doctor begins to ask questions. And that's where, like, you've seen the kind of user experience I'm talking about here. The doctor begins to inquire, okay, you say you are backache. Have you been sleeping? How many times do you sleep in a week? Um, how much water do you take? Are you eating vegetables? Are you eating meat? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And the person begins to say no, 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 no. At that point, what they need is not a drug, right? Because that is a product. What they need is just an advice. Oh, go and sleep and drink a lot of water while at it. Okay, that's all. So and that is why, like, when we talk about user experience, I say a lot of people do mistakes when they are researching into problems and all. They just jump into like, let's just design something. Let's just design something. Sometimes what you just need is an advice, right? Um, so that is all about user experience, the roles, the understanding interfaces and all. So like I said again, if you have any question, drop in the WhatsApp group. If you like to join the WhatsApp group, um, you can drop a message here, and you can drop a message and would add you to the WhatsApp group. Thank you everyone for taking our time to join this live. Um, and I know you've been able to like get one or two things or have one or two takeaways from this Fema Dojo Live. Make sure you like, share this video with people, um, subscribe, very important. And if you have any question or you have something that is bothering you that you want us to talk about, make sure you post it in the comment section or the WhatsApp group. I'll be more than happy to help you. Okay, so thank you everyone. Have a nice time. Cheers for now. Nike, do you have something to say?